and ask you to watch a previous lecture that I do every single year at the beginning from like 8 to 9. Every year I do the same lecture on the basic principles so that when you go off and train with me or the others who are here, and we have to thank them as well for coming to volunteer to help you guys, that you already have a sound understanding of the basic principles. Did anybody not watch that video and go over the basic principles of the art of dressage? So everybody did? Awesome. So let's start talking about it then. And I might point to one of you and ask you a question. It's not to put you on the spot, but just so that I get a real feel for whether you are really comprehending all of this. You know, dressage is this interesting thing because we love our horses, right? And we are trying to create this dance with them where they look like they're dancing around the arena all because they want to, all because it's something that makes them happy. And the signals that we teach them over the many years have to do with their ability, because they're such incredibly sensitive animals, animals which, when there's a little bug going by right now in the air, and if that bug were to land on the side of a horse, unlike us, the horse would twitch its skin right where the bug touched it. And that, when you really think about it, if you touched your skin right here, can you move your own skin? Absolutely not. You'd have to like do your other arm to get it away. But the horse, being this incredibly sensitive animal that has that ability to flick its skin where something touches it, is also therefore super sensitive to when they're being ridden, to the touches that make them react. That makes sense, right? And on top of it, they're animals of flight, meaning that from a standstill, if they think there's a predator, when they were in the wild, they would sniff it, they would see it from a long distance, and run. And the fact that they are that fast was the other thing that captivated a couple of thousand years ago people's imaginations to say, well, you know what? If the animal is that sensitive to touch and that quick on its feet, and we've been marching toward these guys on the other side of battles, just directly into them and then, fighting it out, hand to hand on foot. Think what could happen if we took that horse and were able to make it do all the things we've been seeing it flying around in the paddock doing, but for us instead. And that's where that thought came to say, okay, we're going to begin to ride that animal. We're going to harness it with a bridle and put a saddle on so that we can have something that's more comfortable than their back to sit on, and places where we can use armor. And if we can train them so well that we can still fight with a spear or a sword and even hold a shield while we're on their back, think of how much more powerful we can be to these little guys on their feet when we come flying at them on horses. And these horses are so sensitively trained that they can go forward and sideways at the same time. They can turn around and kick. They can leap up into the air and jump down on these guys. And that was when Xenophon, a friend of Socrates, over 2,000 years ago, decided that for military use he could train horses in what became the first school of dressage. So that's some history. The other cool thing when you think about it is that what we're really doing is we are in this animal very similar to than if we were a sculptor. So have you guys ever done sculpturing in class? In any kind of camp or any kind of class? Anybody? Raise your hand if you have. If you've done any kind of it. A couple of you. Only a couple. Well, maybe 4 of you. So the thing about doing sculpturing is that you take a piece of clay, right? And you put it on this flat surface, which is round, and it's a wheel. Have you ever heard of that? That you put it on this wheel, and when in the olden days, and probably not anymore, but in the olden days, we used to have to pump our feet on this thing. And the wheel would go around, and then if you touched the clay with your hand, you could start, as it was going around, changing the shape of it, and say you wanted to make a mug, which is what we did. You put your hand into the center, the thing starts going around, and you put your hand in the center, it starts shaping it, shaping it, shaping it. As long as it keeps going around, you can keep on changing the shape until you created this beautiful mug. Well, the thing with horses is, and this is what's so interesting about many arts and a lot of real ideas of life, is that take the animal, and in order to begin to make it into something other than beautiful animals, we need to be able to create first energy. So energy, because the animal, as I told you, is so sensitive, and an animal of flight is something that we begin to learn how to create, and we'll start going over that in a minute. But we create energy, and then if the energy just flew off, we couldn't create the mug, right? So we trap the energy just like that piece of clay going around in the middle on the little platform, going around in a circle really fast. And then, in trapping the energy, we then begin, just like your hand in the clay that makes it start shaping, we begin to direct that energy that we've trapped and contained, and becomes just like the wheel going around, self-falling around, and we begin that energy into all shapes and all the beautiful movements that we call dressage. So that's sort of cool, isn't it? And the thing about the round shape is just remember that, because the round shape of that going around. Because in the end, you're going to see within our daily training, everything in life has to do with going around in a round circle, basically. If you think all the way up to the Earth and the stars in the solar system, the Earth's going around the sun, everything is going around, right? Energy is going around. The shapes of the sun, the shape of our Earth, everything is round. It's a very cool notion that everything has to do with making a round circle and connecting it all the way around, okay? So, energy. We're back to energy. In a horse, once it is being saddled and you're getting on his back, the first requirement that must be achieved within the horse is what? Anybody can yell it out. To make him go what? Forward, great. And forward requires a set of aids. So we call those aids that make him go forward the driving aids. There are driving aids. Do you remember them? Yep, go ahead. Left leg, right leg, and seat. Does anybody else think there are any others? No? Or you're shy? Okay. So, you're absolutely right. The inside leg, if you touch him, because he's so sensitive, or if he's not as sensitive, if you kick him, you'll see that he begins to go forward, right? Likewise with the outside leg. Kick him, he's going to go forward. He may go a little sideways, but he's going to go forward. Then so who can tell me the difference between how we're sitting right now? So everybody's sitting in your chair. Are you sitting with the driving seat, or are you sitting passively? Passively. Who can tell me how you change a passive seat into a driving it? Which one? Who can just raise and tell me? How do you make your passive seat that you're sitting in now into an active driving seat? But yell it, okay? Because it's on. And sorry? Do you take a breath? And what? You got to really be loud. This is, you know what? As you become a trainer and a teacher, a big part of it is being able to project. Nobody will ever fault me for not being able to project, right? So, and I know I have this. Really, even if you have to stand up, yell the answer. Yes? And then do what? You what? Well, that's legs. What about just the seat? You said you tighten you're taking a breath and you tighten, right? And then what do? Like, because if I'm right now, I'm tight, I'm breathing in, but I'm not necessarily doing anything to drive. So, yeah, what would you do? You push them forward how? Like, because now I'm pushing them forward and up. Ah, there you go. So think about when you were a little tiny kid and you couldn't even reach the ground, but you were going to push a swing forward, right? And you were going to race to get to the top. You have to think of in this motion, now, and I'm going to actually push my chair towards the end of the ring. And that motion now, as you're taking a breath and you become firm and you say, get forward, and you push that way, that motion, that sensitive horse goes, whoa, I'm going to move. And then you say, good girl, thank you for doing that. Now, the next time I'm going to say I'm going to use my inner leg, my outer leg, and my driving seat a little less. Are you tuned in? Because if you're not, I'm going to use them all harder. And then again and again, and the repetitions teach the horse that even as you begin to sit up taller on the trained horse, they start moving forward. Because they know 1 second later, otherwise they get driven hard, right? The seat can be passive, active driving, and one other way. How can the seat be the third way? Anybody know? Yeah, go ahead. Stilled, braced against the horse who may be running off, or to bring him from a greater place, a greater extended canter to collected canter. Extended trot, collected trot, sitting against the forward motion of the horse. The 3 ways the seat can be, right? Super, guys. I'm loving this year. This is like the first year where I really know you guys watched the video and know the answers. The second requirement after the horses go forward from the driving aids is what? That they do what? Go ahead. Straightness. Oh my God, I'm so happy. So straightness. What does straightness mean, though? It means not just that they're always like the rail that's right here on the arena. What does it mean? Yeah. Yeah, they're like a segment overlapping the line that they're moving along, such that they're straight on straight lines and bent on bent lines. And if they're bent on bent lines, we have to have a set of aids that makes them learn to bend. And that set of aids is called the set of bending aids. And just like there were 3 driving aids, there are 3 natural bending aids. And what would those be? Go ahead. Inside leg, outside leg, and inside hand. Everybody agree? Anybody think there are more? Okay, she's got it right. And so the inside leg, where do we put it? Yeah, at the girth. Why? Anybody else? Wait, let's see if some, yeah? It's their center of gravity, and it makes sense that you start changing the horse's center of balance, their center of gravity, right there in their center of gravity. So we press our inside leg at the girth, and they move away from it. And then what prevents them, though, from just swinging their whole body out and swinging their butt to the outside? Yeah? Outside leg. And so where's it put? Yeah, behind the girth. And that acts as a barrier to prevent the haunch from swinging out. Now you've got the inside leg working to press the girth out, the girth area out, the outside leg brought back, but then you only have the horse bent from the girth backward, and we need the horse to bend consistently from its nose to its tail, right? So the third aid, what was the third aid? You guys? Yeah, inside rein. And so the inside hand closes into a fist and asks the horse to supple and bend to the inside just the amount that we asked it to bend from our legs through the rest of its body. And once we ask the horse and it bends like that, we relax those aids, just like we relax the driving aids that made him go. So again, this makes sense that we close those aids, they bend, we relax those aids. Good girl for bending for me. Now the only problem is we've got a horse going forward from the driving aids, bending from the bending aids, and if I do nothing else but use those two sets of aids, the horse being asked to speed up from the driving aids goes, speed up, and being asked to bend from the bending aids goes, okay, watch me go around. I'm going to go around in a smaller and smaller circle while I'm going faster and faster. Or I may just bend a part of me, like my head and neck, a lot to the left and fly going that way to the right. In either way, in either instance, you've gotten too much speed from the driving aids and too much bend from the bending aids that was uncontrollable. Therefore, there has to be one set of aids left at our disposal, and it is one singular aid, but it is a set unto itself that has the job of telling the horse, hey, just because I'm bending you, you can't turn into a curly cue. Just because I'm driving you. And what would that last aid be? Up. The outside rein. The outside rein has a name. Go ahead. You've got it. It's just the best year already. The aid or the rein of opposition. Because does everybody know what oppose means? If I oppose you in a competition, I'm against you in the competition. So the rein or aid of opposition opposes too much of the first two sets of aids. By closing the outside hand into a fist, when you're bending, you say, yeah, you know what, not more than this. And when you close your outside hand as the horse goes forward, you say, okay, but not faster than this rhythm. And with that aid, making the horse yield to it, you then relax when the horse has done so. Again, just like the other two sets of aids. It's used efficiently by closing into a fist. The horse yields, and you say, thank you. Now I'll soften that hand again. So now you've got these three sets of aids that make this perfect package. Two are creating, and the third is regulating the amount of the first two. And now we have the ability to say, speed up, but not more than this. Bend, but not more than this. And with those three sets of aids, we begin to then take the young horse, and by marrying those three sets of aids into the length of time of what? Because somebody said it earlier when they said how you use your driving seat. What do you do first? Yes? So a breath, which is about 3 seconds. And In my lecture, in the movie that you saw, because there's been probably 11 or I don't even know how many of them. I've done it a million times. The breath, which is about 3 seconds, do you know why I said 3? Does anybody know why I said 3? Or I'll say the half-halt would be like, in a best-case scenario, then the 3 steps. Do you know why? Anybody know why? This is where it gets really sort of cool again. 3 is a powerful number. Do you know that? 3 is a powerful number. The breath and the breath out in 3 strides or in 3 strokes is a powerful number. And when you think of things, half-halts can happen in a stride. Half-halts can take 5 strides. And that's what we're getting to, the half-halt, right? But when you think in terms of 3, there's power inside of the 3. All right? Throughout even history of mankind, there's always been power inside of 3. Just take my word for it. So we then now say, how do we marry these 3 sets of aids together in the length of time of that complete breath? Breathe in, close legs, and at that second, when we breathe in and close legs, and now drive and have the bending aids working, the horse is going to want, at this point, we've just breathed in, and we're closing our legs, and we still keep our inside hand bending. At that second, in that second, the horse is going to want to do what? Nobody knows? If you close your legs on your horse and start driving, what is he going to want to do? Going to want to go forward, speeding up. If you're bending, the inside leg's on the girth, the outside leg's behind the girth, the inside reine's bending while you do that, the horse is going to want to bend more. But in that second, as that energy comes that way from the back, you close your outside hand into a fist, thereby saying to the horse, hey, buddy, I know I'm driving, but you're not allowed to speed up. I know I'm bending, but you're not allowed to bend anymore. And in that second, as the horse becomes more knowledgeable and reacts correctly, a door is, an imaginary door is shut in front of his or her nose, which open would have allowed him or her to speed up and bend more, but closed then says, well, I'm being driven, but I can't go any more forward than this. I'm being bent, but I'm not allowed to bend more. And so, at this moment, with the door closed, what happens to his hindquarters? Because you're driving, but you close the door. What happens to the hindquarters? They do what? They go under, meaning the hind legs bend in the joints. And as the hind legs bend more in the joints, think of an accordion. From here's the top of the accordion, here's the bottom, and now I'm pushing, but I'm not allowing it to go that way, so the hind end does what? The croup does what? It lowers. And because it's a quadruped, not a biped like us, as the hind end lowers, what happens to the front end? It what? It rises up. But she's yielded to the action of my hand. The inner hand was just making her bend. The outside hand closed in a fist, and she says, okay, I'm not going to pull against that. I'm not going to go faster. She's yielded to the door being shut. So it doesn't go up from her head, hopefully. It goes up from the withers and the shoulders, right? And as the withers go up, because the croup is lowered, where does the horse's center of gravity go? Backward. And as the center of gravity goes backward, we go, oh my God, look at my horse dance now. And because it's done this beautiful thing of bringing the center of gravity backward and front end more beautiful and arched and glorious, we have to say, Good girl. And we do so by breathing out, relaxing that driving tent seat, right? Relaxing that outside hand from a fist back into a open, relaxed hand. When I say open, not like this, but just relaxed. And that opens the door back up and says, thank you so much, girl. Now I'm ushering you through the doorway in a new state of balance and attention. Guess what the definition of the half-halt is? What is it? The definition of the half-halt. It was in there, guys. Go ahead. It's a calling, it's the calling of a horse to a perfect state of balance and attention. That's what the half-halt is. He's out of balance. He has to do something that changes his gait. He has to do something that changes from one balance to another. He has to do something that changes from one movement to the next. He has to do something that changes one bend to the other. Anything that makes him go from one balance, gait, movement, pace. You understand? Any transition, or when he is just around and saying, yeah, I'm not feeling like it today, the answer to all questions within the balancing of the horse is the half-halt, the bringing of the horse to a perfect state of balance and attention. Does that make sense? So you see, this is where this hour for you guys, for me, is so important, because if you're 12 or if you're 22 or if you are 26 or if you're 6, the idea of dressage has to do with the creation of this beautiful round form that is dancing around the arena for us, from one dance to the next dance, from one movement to the next movement, all beautifully sewn together like a quilt from one half-halt to the next to the next.